Attention shoppers, we've got to clean up on Aisle H.
What the other wolves think?
A true crime cleanup on Aisle H.
Diabolical.
Starting now.
Oh, he's telling you that she's bats.
Howdy, Holeheads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Kateline.
and we are here to discuss an excellent documentary by the name of the Speedway Murders. Now, when I told Kate that name, she said, "Oh, Car Kate, can't wait." And now when she texted me that, my heart sank just a little. Because there's many reasons that we're about to talk about, but I was like, this can go either way with Kate, and I'm worried I know which way it's gonna go. And then when you were like, "Oh, I'm looking forward to Murders at a Racetrack," I was like, that ain't this. That ain't this, friend.
No.
So I guess, Kate, give me your first thoughts on this documentary, because I get those and then I do the IMDb.
This was a really well done documentary.
Ooh, really? Okay, I agree. Continue. Sorry, continue.
The budget was right.
Yeah.
They hired legit actors for the reenactments,
Straight
so
up.
I wasn't mad about it. And
Yeah.
while they did create all the dialogue that was allegedly said between the victims, they did it in a way where it's obvious that the victims never said any of this, because the victims ended up narrating their own story and talking about their own murder. So
Yeah, it's true.
that didn't bother me.
Okay.
And they were good actors. They weren't those like Staten Island jokesters we see most of the time.
Easy Tiger.
And I was getting Stranger Things vibes from the whole
music,
ambiance, the music,
Oh, yeah.
the arpeggiated synth,
Yep.
all
big
of
time.
that.
Boy, Kate, I've got f***ing chills right now, because this is a best case scenario, because these are all things I thought. Now, the biggest thing... God, I feel like I got to say the stupid synopsis before we can dive in.
Yeah.
I feel like I got to say it. Is that cool? Mm-hmm. All right, so this is from KMDB. In the town of Speedway, Indiana, in 1978, 4 Burger Chef employees go missing one night and are found dead 2 days later. This Australian documentary goes into detail about all the theories of what happened in the case, which is still unsolved to this day. I mean, that was like, I don't know who runs KMDB, but that was like a fucking killer description.
You don't know. We'll never know.
What's that K stand for in KMDB? Nobody knows.
No, it's pretty good, Kurt. Pretty good.
Thank you. I feel like this doc, the final theory is a bomb drop that I think they kind of underplayed their hand. Or maybe they played it just right. But there are 5 theories that they present, this documentary. And what they're going to do is they've got actors portraying the night it goes down at the Burger Chef. But every time we hear a new theory, it's like we see the same inciting incident of one of the employees calling home and hanging up and saying, "I can stay." And then the manager lady says, "Right on," and high fives him.
Yes.
Right?
I can stay.
Right on.
That was my least favorite part about this, that we had to see that moment 5 times.
Okay, well, 4.5. But I like it though, because it's like, it's the starting point, and kind of, I mean, they also do title cards. Anytime there's a new theory, it'll say the Speedway bomber, the robbery gang theory, blah blah blah. You didn't care for that. I thought I liked it. I liked it structure-wise. Not you.
No.
God, am I so relieved, Kate, that you were pro the dialogue. Because, look, first time I watched this, August 6th. One, I'm vaguely familiar with the Burger Chef murders. Did you know about these murders or no?
No, I didn't know anything about this. But I figured you did know because it's in your neck of the woods.
That has nothing to do with it, and that didn't dawn on me until they connected the Speedway part of it. I didn't know, I never remembered this took place in Indiana, ever.
It's where the Indianapolis 500 is.
Yeah, I mean, mostly known for the Brickyard 400, but yeah, sure. The Indy 500 is pretty popular.
No, Kurt, it is known for the Indy 500.
Those are my favorite jokes to do to Kateline.
Well, I didn't know that it was in the town of Speedway, and it's a nothing town unless it's a race day.
Kate, genuinely, me neither until I saw this doc. I thought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I had no f***ing clue there was a Speedway, Indiana, so that's kind of crazy. Where did I start that thought?
So you haven't been?
No, certainly not. I mean, I've been to Indy. I've never been to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Here's the thing. Indy to me is Fishers, where Deer Creek used to be, this concert that I saw a bunch of cool people like Dave Matthews and Willie Nelson.
Okay.
That's what Indianapolis is to Kurt Money, not all this racing stuff. So I'm losing points left and right over here, aren't I, Kate?
Well,
you're hearing Dave minus.
Yeah, I'm not. Look, you do you. But I've never been to Indianapolis.
So the format of this doc is we see the same night 5 different ways with 5 different theories. And it's got real life talking heads with people involved with the case. Now, it does also have your podcasters we've never heard of. Hello, Kurt's Kick-Ass List. That's making the list if it isn't already on there. We're talking to real people involved, like a sister of the person of Ruthie that was killed. There was a woman who was supposed to work for Mark that he tried to get out of day of. It was like, oh, by the way, I can't work for you. And then she was like, sorry, Mark, you took over. Sounds like you got to find somebody to cover your shift. And then luckily, for this lady.
Yeah, Mark died.
That's true. That's true. Now, the biggest swing this doc takes is that while we're seeing the recreation of the night, like you were saying, the 4 characters, the 4 victims are played by actors. The victims are Jane Freet, Mark Flemons, Daniel Davis, and Ruthie Shelton. And they have lines of dialogue that are sometimes like slice of life to get to know the character. Like, ooh, I'm supposed to go to the galaxy tonight. And then the other lady's like, there's nothing good comes out of that. Like, there's those moments. Or they'll literally say facts from the case and say, well, that couldn't happen because what about Mark, your brother? 3 years from now, he gets arrested for armed robbery. So maybe he did it and stuff. Now that is, I think you can go one way or another. I'm just pleased as punch that you're on my side. Because when I looked up reviews for this, Kate, every single one of them said, this would have been awesome if they hadn't done this dumb thing with the actors. And some people even said it was offensive. And I'm here tonight to let you know, Kate, and the whole heads, I think it's the opposite. I thought this was a wonderful device for a format of a show or a doc that we've seen a billion times. I thought this was such a great device to sneak in facts about the case really quickly. And it also, I think by giving good actors, by relating these good actors to the real people, that serves their memory even better, because that's what we're going to talk about this for an hour, so I guess I don't want to say it all now, Kate. So feel free to jump in. But I liked this device that they did. I thought it saved time, and I also just thought it was a creative way to get more information.
I agree.
What do you think?
I think the people saying that it was offensive haven't seen some of the shows that we've watched that are really offensive.
Yeah, that's what I was. Like that to me is offensive that they said that. I was like, really? Wow, you really can't make everybody happy. Because I thought this was the best case scenario, because this is how, like, for instance, I watched the first episode of the Ed Gein Monster. Are you going to watch that? The Ryan Murphy show with Charlie Hunnam as Ed Gein. Do you know about this?
I don't typically watch Ryan Murphy shows, but
that's a good move.
But I don't know, this one maybe.
I watched the first ep. It's a tough watch for me. I've read a book and listened to a podcast on Ed Gein, so I'm what is known as an expert. So I've got opinions on everything they're doing in the show. And Hunnam, the fact that Ed Gein got Charlie Hunnam to play him is what a coup. What a coup. But the reason why Ed Gein's crimes are still so well known, or the name is so well known, one, they're bonks. I mean, he made a belt out of nipples, okay? Yeah. But it's because of the movie Psycho, and then later Texas Chainsaw. But let's just deal with Psycho first. The reason why Ed Gein is so famous because he was immortalized because he's Norman Bates. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And so I think by having actors portray these people, it's got a better chance of sticking in people's own personal mind grapes when they're done watching the show.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Because it's humanizing them.
Sweet.
Good, honey.
We opened on a burger chef. This was cool. This was shot in Adelaide. This was an Australian doc, which you could tell from the credits and stuff. And I read an interview with Essie Randalls, who played, what's that face saying?
I missed that.
Oh, really?
I had no idea it was Australian.
Yeah, it said like, I knew it because it said like Screen Australia or something like that. But Essie Randalls is Australian, and she was in Apple's Never Fall, a show that you did not party with, but I did.
No, that was on Peacock?
Yeah. Essie Randalls played Jane, the manager, this night at the Burger Chef. And I just love her. I'm into her. She's cool. And
she was great.
The key was in my pocket when they found me. The driver's side was locked. I always lock my doors.
Now, I read one article with her where she was referred to as they, them.
Okay.
But other articles I read did not. But even assuming, I mean, of course, I'm here to recognize whatever she wants, whatever they want to be called, they, them. But I feel like for the purpose of this pod, Essie Randalls is playing a female, so it's okay if we say she and stuff. What do you think? When we're talking about the character of Jane.
That makes sense to me.
Okay. But Essie Randalls is a babe.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It was a great character. And even when they try to paint her and her family as having kind of a not so great background, the dialogue that they gave her makes up for it, because even she they have her say, like, what? You think I'm like, I owe money because
drug kingpin?
my brother is into something and I'm a drug kingpin while I'm working as the manager at the Burger Chef with you kids? Like, what?
Yeah. This doc really highlights how villainized weed was in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because I have such little patience for today. Because, like, I saw it on Instagram where, like, Selena Gomez had a vape pen when she's getting her wedding pictures taken. Like, it's so not illegal anymore to be high all the time. And I support that. And it bugs me in these old situations where it's like she would leave work to get high. And it's like, oh, well, she deserves to die or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, it was a lot more evil back then. What do you think? Are you with me there?
Definitely. It was portrayed like that even like 20 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're smoking reefer, who knows what other bad things they're getting up to?
Gateway drug. Here it comes.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page there.
At one point, she left the restaurant during working hours. It was night. We were closed. We were cleaning up. And she was going to walk out of the restaurant for a little while. And she got in my face and pointed her finger. Don't you tell a soul that I'm leaving. And if you do, I will make your life a living hell when I get back.
Before we get to the theories, the basic info is that 11:30 at night on was it Friday? I forget what day it was, but 11:30 at night, November 17th, 1978, 4 employees of Burger Chef were kidnapped. And now here's what's wild. And this they said right up front, so I was already on the edge of my seat, is the cops were notified that they were gone 30 minutes after they left. So at midnight, 30 minutes after they left, the cops were there. And what did the cops say to Burger Chef, to Mr. Chef? Hey, Chef, here's the deal with this murder. What'd they say?
Well, it looks like these kids that you have running the shop just kind of left.
Yeah, they're across the street partying at the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm. They're over
this
at
is
the
just
club
teens
across the
having
street.
fun.
This is what happens when you hire teens.
And so they locked up and then opened in the morning, cleaned up, and were open for business.
Yep.
There was no crime scene,
No crime scene, just
whatsoever.
Just clean it up.
And here's one. I'm going to be shouting this doc out for a lot of little moves. And one of them is they have the lead detective from this case. He wasn't the lead in 78. He got it in like 81 or something. But he seems like an all-around good dude. Mm-hmm. Basically, I'm saying he's not the bad cops we're talking about, I don't think, when we're talking about this case.
No.
It was like a collective effort where not only did they close it down, when they found the dead bodies 2 days later, they went back to Burger Chef and restaged the crime scene for photos, dude.
And then used those photos in the file.
I don't know if I'd characterize it as restaging. I know that there was an attempt to pass off photographs as if they were actual crime scene photos.
That is not legal.
Yeah.
Now, I guess. I don't know.
No, it wasn't legal then. Like, that's what I mean. In the span of 2 days, these cops are goddamn near the 1980s Wisconsin or Minnesota cops where Bambi was at. Remember, like the amount of corruption at this place or laziness, I suspect, because the fact that they were like, they probably just took the money and went and had fun. Oh, so they robbed the store. The safe is open. All the money's gone, by the way. All the money's gone.
They robbed the store.
The door's wide open.
That they work at.
Yeah.
And then we're expecting to like come back to work the next day.
Yeah. I think it all boils down to it's enough people that are wearing the badges that are they're clocking in and out. And they're like, nothing's getting me from my couch and my beer at 8 p.m. tonight. So look, we'll deal with it tomorrow or whatever it is. Right?
Insane. I
I
don't like when adults just write off things like this and we've seen it before. When like a teenage girl goes missing and it's like, well, these girls do that. They run off.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, my daughter wouldn't. And they're like, well, you don't know your daughter.
Yeah. And even in this case, they're saying that times 4. Mm-hmm. These idiots were saying that 4 people made that same decision to just up and go. And like I watched another thing about this for extra info, but they were like, those 4 people were coworkers. Mm-hmm. They weren't like in cahoots.
They weren't
in a gang.
buds. They weren't like hanging out together. And why did the owner or the head manager or whatever, why didn't he push back on that? He or she. They would know. Wait, those employees aren't like that. or they're not even friends, or something about that isn't right. But instead, they were also like, yeah, you're right, let's close it up.
Yeah. You're right. That's another great point, because somebody had to say the next morning, okay, cops, we're good. We're going to go make fries in here or whatever. Like, you're right. They were okay with it too. I think this is after Jaws. It's like all these people have the Mayor and Jaws vibes, where it's like, don't interrupt our economy, okay? Like, please, 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 don't do something that's going to make people not want to come here.
Right.
I mean, it worked, because this Burger Chef sure don't exist anymore.
Well, I'd never heard of Burger Chef. And then in the doc, they show us a TV ad from that time.
Yeah.
And their slogan is "Have it your way."
Thank you. Okay. They do say that.
You want your Big Chef some special way? You'll get it with our Works Bar. Have it your way at Burger Chef.
Now, I looked that up. Apparently, Burger King introduced that in 1974.
So Burger Chef stole it.
I guess, right? Because it's exactly those words. Have it your way.
Yes.
That was the Burger King slogan until 2014.
And I was doing some research trying to see, well, did Burger King acquire Burger Chef and that's where it came from?
Yeah.
But it didn't.
Mm-hmm. No. And Burger Chef at its height had 1,000 locations.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot, but it's not McDonald's, or it's not like...
Well, nothing's McDonald's.
Of course. And look, they were out of business by 82. It probably would have happened without the murder, I think, right?
Yes. They probably just couldn't compete
Yeah.
with Burger King and McDonald's.
Yeah, and this doc is shooting in the actual Burger Chef building that was still standing. Now, it's since been demolished. It got demolished a year ago. I saw a video. But for 40 years, that building stood. Isn't that crazy?
What was it for 40 years?
Well, the first thing it was after was a Hardee's. Now, after it was a Hardee's, I don't know. But it was gutted in the doc, right? Like, they bring all the victims in there, right? Okay, so the first theory is...
Theory number 1, the robber gang theory.
And we're introduced to this by this true crime host podcast guy that used to be a detective. That is so funny that he's so tied into this case, and I thought he was wrong in all of his theories.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think about this guy?
He was very sure of himself. He was like,
Yeah.
I called it. I know it's this.
I am 99.9% convinced that the robbery crew, that crew are responsible.
But I didn't agree with him. Not at all.
No, I wasn't sold on it then, and especially as the doc went on, I kept thinking, boy, remember that guy at the beginning who was so sure it was the robbery gang theory? Because apparently in the late 70s, Indianapolis, crime was on the rise.
I mean, by the way they talked about it, you would think that it was the most dangerous place in the Midwest.
Yeah, and like the stats that they're using for that, they're basing that on one, there was a bombing that will come up later, but there was a bombing a few months earlier. There'd already been like 5 other robberies of Burger Chef locations.
Right.
And the thing that they did with all the cars, where one was a block away or a 20-minute walk away or whatever, that was also what the robbers did for robbing the Burger Chefs. But wait, sorry, so I'm talking too much. Give us the gist of the robbery gang theory, Kate.
It's this same group of guys who've been robbing the Burger Chefs all around the area, and they show up and they're all dressed in black, as robbers do. They come around the back, and this is where we meet some of the eyewitnesses who, although remind me, the eyewitnesses are there for a few of the different theories.
Yeah. There's a guy, Kirk Thompson. He was a friend of Mark's. Now, Mark is the one African-American that was working that night. And this other doc I watched made a much bigger deal out of it, which you'll probably be able to agree with, is that people were pointing in Mark's direction for a lot of things, and it might have been racially motivated.
Oh, yeah.
That, like, the murder happened because of Mark. One, because he tried to defend Jane, or 2, because he was a drug dealer who owed money.
Neither of that is true.
Yeah. But his buddy Kirk, he was supposed to go to the Galaxy with him, which was across the street, a dance club for underage kids. He's the one that we know that they were out of there by 11:30, because that's when he went. And he's ready to walk home, as he says, because in Speedway, Indiana, too, you're a black guy, you don't walk home alone.
You don't walk alone. You got to walk together or in a group.
Yeah.
That tells you a lot about what race relations were like at the time.
Yeah, and this same guy, Kirk, is in the other doc, and he's a lot clearer about it. He's like, Speedway's racist as hell. It was racist. And I'm like, yeah, dude. He's there to meet up with Mark, and he's like, I don't see anybody in the restaurant, but the lights are on. Kirk says he gets to the restaurant about 11:30, nobody's there, lights are off. He goes around back, sees a door wide open. And I love this, because he goes up to this open door and is like, Mark, Jane, and he starts going, his thinking is they're trying to mess with him, right?
And he's like, you know what? No. And
I'm
leaves.
out.
He's like, I'm not
He
doing
straight
this
up-
tonight.
He called it a night.
Yeah.
And it ends up being a great move for a lot of reasons. That one, he wasn't also a victim, but also not more reason to call him a suspect.
Totally.
Because the cops were suspicious, Hal. But I loved this point where it was, I remember these days, we've talked about how much we hate pranks, but this was a much more viable option for things that would happen on weekend nights, was the person who shows the blast, like there'd be some dumb prank everybody would pull on him or something.
Yep.
This felt so real to me. And I just love that he was like, I'm going home. This
He's
isn't
like,
fun.
if they're hiding, let
Yeah.
them hide.
They can
I'm
hide
out.
on it. Yeah.
Quiet as a mouse in there. I'm like, I'm not going in there. So I just turn around and walk home.
There are a number of cliches in horror films or tropes or whatever, things that keep reoccurring in horror films that'll bug you sometimes. Like a famous one that gets made fun of is that the black person dies first. That's a classic one that luckily doesn't happen much anymore. Another one, though, that happens in, I would argue, every single horror film ever made is the first scare is a fake out.
Yep.
Always a fake out. And you can't get mad at horror movies for having that scene because it clearly happens.
It does. Although in this case, he avoided it.
Yeah.
But I would just like to say, when I was 13, I made a horror movie, and the black guy lived in the end.
Hell yeah.
Everyone else died. The black guy
Boom.
and the ditz.
So you had a final girl still.
Yeah, but she was the one who should have died first. She was the dumbass. So
I love it. Boom. I think it's a
first
good
and
cameo.
last horror movie. First and last horror movie I ever made.
Boom. You know what? You made your statement and you're like, I've said all I can say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and top me. So, well, that's pretty cool. What was the name of this horror film?
4 days.
Okay. Were people alone on an island for 4 days? What's going on? You want to tell us or no?
Oh, Kurt, if you think the plot made any sense.
But you're right in saying that this is where we talk to, this robbery gang theory is where we meet what we believe to be the one and only witness. And that is a woman named Mary and her boyfriend at the time, George. And what was cute, they dated for like a year at the time. But this was 40, 50 years ago. In this doc, they're interviewed sitting next to each other talking about that night.
Yeah.
Wasn't it kind of cute?
It's nice that they're lifelong friends.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
Maybe this bonded them forever.
That's true. That's true because the thing is, right next to this burger chef was a Dunkin' Donuts. And we saw footage of it. And did you not love the neon sign? I just like...
Oh, yeah, the old school.
The fact... Those don't get made anymore for a lot of reasons, and I miss it. I'm sure it has to do with environment and stuff. But they were beautiful, right?
I know
They
you
were
love
beautiful.
a neon sign. We're looking for that one from Murder, She Wrote.
Of course. Classic. Absolutely.
But yeah, she worked there at the Dunkin' Donuts, and the two of them were out back when the first theory alleges that these robbers strolled back there and interacted with them.
Yeah, and they're back. Oh, so one of them, George, the guy, they needed a light. And so he ran to the open door of the burger chef and popped his head in and was like, hey, anybody here got any matches? Again, a long gone time where a fast food restaurant would have a surplus of matches ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Well,
when do you think the last time Burger King carried matches? I mean, a long time.
Unless
right?
somebody just had them in their pocket because they smoked.
Oh, well, one, he got them from Danny, who was the youngest kid there that had to call mom for permission and stuff. So I'm not sure, but who knows? But I didn't think of that. I guess I assumed they were Burger Chef branded, is what I was wanting to think about.
Oh.
But I see what you're saying.
We needed matches to light the joint.
They light up this joint and they hear a cough, and it's two guys behind him. It's a tall, clean-shaven man and a shorter, bearded man. And now Mary, who gives the description to the sketch artist, and we see the sketch. Do you remember the name she came up for the clean-shaven man and the bearded man? Do you remember what they became known as?
No.
She goes, and they became known as the clean-shaven man and the bearded man. Okay, thanks, Mayor.
Well, that's not her fault.
No, you're right.
That's the dumb press and the cops.
The sketches became known as the clean-shaven man and the bearded man.
So she describes these guys as saying, like, hey, there's been a lot of vandalism in the area. You should get away from here. So they were scared and they skedaddled. I think Mary went back into Dunkin' Donuts and George went home. Because they were thinking it was the cops initially. Like, uh-oh, we got busted for a joint
they
here.
were smoking weed and they thought they were undercover cops or plainclothes detectives or something. But I don't know, the beard, it's not really cop protocol.
No. And with those two sketches, they actually end up doing a clay bust of them, which you know I love and eat up from like a FF perspective. Like, I give me a clay bust any time of the day.
It's extra.
It is. It's extra, and it always kind of hurts. My heart hurts a little when later the same clay bust gets a digital representation, and then when you see the real person, you're like, I guess I kind of see it in the clay bust. I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's like, look, these were artists with the real hands.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm not coming after them, but they still have the clay busts. They showed us those friggin' busts.
They do. They bring them out.
And now we know how much a cop station loves to get rid of old files. So the fact that they have an entire bottom shelf of a cabinet dedicated to these two busts, still pretty impressive.
Well, it's still
Right?
unsolved.
Good point. So they hand out these sketches. And
I
the bust.
also appreciated that they told us at the very beginning of this that it is unsolved, so that if you're not down, you can flip right now.
That's a good point. What's interesting, no spoilers, but I don't know. By the end of this doc,
It feels like they do know.
Yeah. That's what I mean, where I feel like this doc is kind of sitting on stuff. But you're right. It is good that up front they tell you that, because that would have infuriated me if it hit credits or something before we found something out. You're right. I'd be like, what?
Mm-hmm.
But these guys kind of match. There's this guy named S.W. Wilkins and this other dude. They were supposed robbers from the Burger Chef gang robberies. So that's who they're thinking these two people are. And look, I guess he was a shady drug dealer, but I thought they did the bearded guy dirty in the B-roll. They showed him eating at the table. He's got like full fries in his beard. Did you see that?
Well, he is supposed to be a villain.
I know, but it was like he was eating and he thought his mouth hole was on the side of his cheek, and that's why there were like full-size fries sticking out. It felt really...
That doesn't happen to you?
No, I can usually find my mouth. I mean, it takes a few tries, but I find it.
Okay.
So that's theory number one. Let me make sure there was... Now, while we joked at the beginning that Car Kate would be disappointed, Car Kate does need to make appearances in this episode.
Oh, yes,
so,
there are cars.
Important ones, too, that I think play a big part. And this was the first time we're talking about them, where they start talking about, like, it's somebody in a van and Jane, the manager's car, wasn't there. That was far away. Do you remember what kind of car she had?
Well, it was white.
Uh-huh.
I want to say it was a Pinto.
Chevy Vega.
Similar. They both kind of explode when you crash them.
Oh, sweet. But yeah, she had like one. It was a classic two-door car that we're talking about that we hate, and we see people getting in and out of the back, and just like we were saying, it looked like a pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass. Moving that seat every time, readjusting it.
Yeah, and imagine doing that when you're moving that car because you're about to go murder 4 teens. I would really have no patience for that seat.
Yeah.
So they really let the actors fly. At the end of each theory, they let the actors dialogue. It's like when these characters are discussing their own fate, they discuss all the reasons why that theory is stupid, which I appreciated. And I liked it here because they were like, that guy, S.W. Wilkins, okay, he worked at a railway that was in a town where Jane had previously worked at another burger chef. So maybe he recognized her.
Johnson City.
Okay, Johnson City, but
yeah,
as Jane says in the movie, I don't know that guy.
The problem here is that the entire case against these guys is circumstantial. I don't even know that guy.
And I feel like that was another good, short, concise way of going like, think about that for a second. Like, why is that connected? Why would she know that man just because they worked in the same town?
Yeah. And she's like, I've never seen that guy. There are a lot of people in that town. What?
Yeah. And also the car thing, in that theory, they would have to fit 4 teens and at least 2 adults in that 4-seater Vega.
They were like, was it a clown car?
Yeah, which is another good point, right?
Yeah.
You got a clown car?
Oh, they kind of cover this a little bit. They talk about how they were led by gunpoint into the back of the van. And I think it was in this one or a future theory, in one or more of these theories, Mark tries to defend Jane, and that's what kicks off the violence.
Right.
Does that happen in this robbery one as well? I think so.
Well, he's taking the trash out, and the robbers show up at the back door and put a gun to his head.
Oh, okay. So that's how it goes down in this one?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Well, this also comes up with like a theory of that they were just partying, being teens, is both the girls' purses were still at work, but their jackets were gone from work.
Right.
Now, they say this in the doc.
Our jackets are gone from the coat rack, but my purse and Ruth's purse are still here.
And I don't know if it's true or not, but that's a fact that this doc conveniently forgotten, I know why, and now it's time for B-roll. You busted! Because when they let them out, they let them get their jackets, which I think is kind of a funny idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to go murder you in the woods. You better bring your jacket. It's going to be chilly
I want
out.
you to be cold.
Yeah. But every time, how many times do we see the imagery of those Burger Chef uniforms, 4 people in a row standing in the woods? Like, that's like the signage of this movie.
Totally.
And it's all because of the striped elbows and the striped uniform. Like, they're not going to show 4 people in random jackets.
You're right.
Standing there.
You're right.
But if they brought their jackets at gunpoint, what happened to those jackets, y'all? B-roll? You busted.
It's also it's another strike against the cops and the owner for showing up and seeing that the girls left their purses there.
Yeah.
No one would do that.
No. And theory number 2, we hear Kate's favorite line. She said I can stay. Right on. High five.
High five. Theory number 2, the Forrester conundrum.
In 1989, about 10 years after the murder, this guy in prison starts singing Donald Forrester, and he starts saying, I'm the guy that did the Burger Chef murders. I did it. And he's already in jail for 95 years. So if upon first thought, you're thinking, what's he got to gain out of this if he's going to be in prison for 95 years?
Mm-hmm.
But the cops that are on the case, they go to interview this guy, and we see footage of it, don't we? We see footage of them interviewing him in their little war room with like the fake wood walls and stuff.
Which is so rare for back then.
Yeah. And I thought it was cool. And they're asking him questions. And what were you thinking here as Forrester is quote unquote confessing? Were you buying this? What were you thinking?
No, I wasn't. Now, granted, it was very early on in the doc, so of course it's not him. But there was just something about the way he was answering the questions. It just didn't seem like he really knew the details and that he didn't really care.
Yeah.
But also, at one point I was like, wait, is he kind of cute?
The mugshot or what you saw in the vid?
Both.
Okay. I don't know.
But I don't know.
So they're interviewing him, and even while we're watching this interview, like, because he's supposedly saying things only that the killer would know, like where the bodies were positioned. Because, I mean, let's do a quick rundown on that of the bodies when they're in the woods. They found 2 of the bodies shoulder to shoulder, laying face down. These were the first 2 killed. This was Ruthie and Danny, and they were shot in the neck and then the head point blank, like right after each other. And supposedly that gunshot spooked the other 2. They went off running, and that was Jane and Mark. And somebody caught up to Jane and stabbed her to death with a knife that broke off in her chest.
Yeah.
And so the blade was there, but no handle.
They never found the handle.
And then Mark, that's right. They never found the handle. And poor Mark was in such a way, he got hit in the face by something super hard. Was it a tree or was it a bat? I guess we'll find out. But it broke his nose, and he drowned in his own blood.
He suffocated.
From a nosebleed.
And he had his...
That is brutal.
He had his arms
Brutal.
raised up above him where he was laying.
Yeah. Oh.
He choked on his own blood, asphyxiated. He died from a broken nose.
Those 2 were trying to get away, and it didn't happen. But it is interesting in that there's basically 3 forms of murder here, right? There's a gunshot, knife wound, and the blunt force trauma. So that's hard to justify with this guy. Forrester's theory is one of the ones that blames Mark, the black guy, because he said somebody wanted to be a hero. That's what he says, a quote from his interview.
Right.
So that's another thing, side-eyeing this guy. We talked to Ginger Anderson. This was who was supposed to work for Mark, but didn't. She was in the Cherokee sweatshirt. What'd you think of her?
Cherokee, man. That's like Target brand, right?
I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
Target brand from like 2000.
I feel like that's like retro in now. Is it not? To wear something like that?
It could be, but she wasn't wearing it because it was in.
No.
She's wearing it because she still has it.
Yeah.
But she must feel so bad. Mark is dead not because of her, but Mark is dead and she isn't because she had him work in her place.
Yeah, I mean, she even says in the doc, she's adamant, like, look, he was working for me that day. Because he did ask at 4:30. I mean, let's assume the shift started at 5 or 6 or even 7. Let's maybe say 7 p.m. for a closing shift. Like, it's too late in the ball game, Mark. But you're right. She would feel pretty bad. I wasn't crazy how she's talking about Jane. She had a real problem with drugs. This was one of the squares in the doc where I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Jane.
Right? Like, she
was bad-mouthing Jane, saying Jane was like a tough girl from the other side of the tracks and was into some bad stuff. And
yeah,
you don't become a manager if that's what's going on.
No, and like I don't. There's one point where she says it was during business hours where she left for a little bit. Now it was after we closed, but she went out to smoke. She came back happy, and I wanted to go, that's not business hours, y'all.
No.
Like, you mean the manager snuck out while you were cleaning up and closing? That sounds like what an assistant manager would do at a Burger Chef in 1978. Like, that sounds like part of the perks of the gig, my friend.
Totally.
Don't you think?
Totally.
Like, this, why are you telling on this right now?
And again, that working in fast food, restaurants, retail, like, you can't be an assistant manager if you are like if you're into drugs and you're like flaky and into bad stuff. Like, that's not, how would you get that job?
Yeah. I question her sometimes, but she does talk about how, so she had to go out on a date. Now, this date was with another employee of the Burger Chef, a guy named Mark. And it was pretty much, it was the same. So, I mean, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But they go on this date, and after the date, they drive by the Burger Chef. And this is at like midnight. And they're like, the lights are on, but Jane's car is gone. And Brian's like, well, let's go see what's going on. And Ginger was like, my dad, I got to get home. Curfew.
Yeah.
So get me home. So Brian drops Ginger off, goes back to the Burger Chef. And that's when he walks in there and sees, oh, we were just robbed and nobody's here. I better call the cops. And so that's when the cops got called. Was by them. Isn't that interesting?
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's who the cop said, don't worry about it. Kids be it, kids.
Who was it that saw that the lights were still on, but that's not always unusual, because a lot of businesses keep some lights on.
Yeah, I forget when that happened, but I believe that. Like, when I want to know, sadly, this happens to me a lot of when I'm scoping out fast food places if they're still open late at night. If I see chairs on top of the tables, then I know I'm fucked. That's what I look for. Not necessarily lights on or off, right?
Yeah.
So a pro tip out there for anybody who likes to grub late night.
Oh, Kurt.
Okay, wait. Oh, we got to talk about this. So this guy's given this confession, and it's sounding like bullshit, but one thing he does say is, I own 2 guns, a 22 and a 38, and I shot these people with a 38. And they're going, okay, well, that is the murder weapon. And he goes, and I can prove it because the reason why you didn't find any shell casings was because I collected them a few days later and I flushed them down the toilet. Sorry. But what do the police say to that when they hear about this flush, Kate? What's their response?
You can't flush them down the toilet.
No, it's, what, do you have a septic tank at your house? Just asking, just out of curiosity. And Forrester's answer was, why, yes, they do. So they dig up his septic tank and comb through the poop, and they find 3 friggin' bullet shells. What are you thinking right now, Kate? Were you like, uh-oh?
I'm thinking, yeah, maybe they'll match the victims, but they don't.
They don't. They match a 22. So these are the kind of roller coasters you're going on with this case, where it's like, oh my God, a guy said he flushed bullets, and then they dug up a septic tank and found bullets. That's pretty condemning. Well, he remembered a time when he flushed bullets for whatever reason, for another crime he was committing, I suppose.
Yeah, hard to keep him straight.
Do you think that he's expected them to dig out his septic tank? Hell no. I don't think he's smart enough to know that's where his poop goes. He was like, I flush it and it's gone. I don't know what happens to it.
I have never had a septic, but...
You haven't?
No. I've only lived in cities, Kurt.
Oh. Well, in South Bend, ours busted in the backyard. There's poop everywhere. It's crazy.
Oh, no.
I remember it. I remember looking in it going, oh my God, that's where all our poop is. I think I remember that one.
No, Kurt.
So now Forrester, like, his story falls apart and they send him back to jail and he's pissed. But one of the cops that we talked to was like, we had enough to press charges, but the DA was like, he's in jail for 95 years. Who cares? Which I think, if you're on record saying that, you should be fired if you're in a position of power. What do you think?
Yes, I can tell you who cares. The families of the victims.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, look, I'm glad they didn't press charges because I don't think this guy friggin' did it. But to hear that is so annoying. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, it's not the same, dude. It's not.
No, and he could also get the death penalty.
Yeah, and we find out that the reason why he wanted to be on good terms with the cops is because it had to do with which prison he was going to do his long term at. He was 10 years into his sentence. Dude had 85 more years to go. And I think it had to do with what his stay would be like, which he would be interested in.
Sure.
But he ended up dying in prison in 2006, I believe. But so that goes by the wayside. That's theory number 2, the Forrester conundrum.
I can stay.
Right on.
Theory number 3, the Speedway bomber.
The Speedway bomber.
Oh, man.
Okay.
This just bummed me out.
So this is mid-November of 78. Early September, there had been a bombing at the actual Speedway, I believe, right? It was in the parking lot of the actual track.
I think so.
And it blew off. A guy kicked it, for one, and it blew his leg off.
Yeah.
And then he killed himself later. It's very sad. But this there had been a bombing that injured people, and this dude named Brett Kimberlin, he was suspected and went to trial and later was convicted and had to do 15 years in prison for this.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like a known drug dealer in the area. And this is where I want to give mad props to the doc. I love a good doc where I can tell the personal opinions of the people making the movies based on edit choices.
Yes.
So we're talking to Ginger. She's the one who was supposed to work that night but didn't. And we're talking about this Brett Kimberlin. And they talk about this guy like he is the most evil SOB you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
Ginger's sitting there going,
If there's anybody to be scared of, it's Brett Kimberlin, even today.
if it had to do with drugs, it was Brett. He was scary and everybody was terrified of him. If anybody's capable of anything like this, it would be Brett Kimberlin. Hard cut to a skinny little guy behind a door, dogs yapping, getting out in his yard.
Oh,
and he's
gosh.
going, oh, it's okay, I'll get it.
Okay.
I'll get it.
I got it. I mean, he was the tiniest, soft-spoken, potentially gay man.
Hi, guys. That's all right. I got him.
Let's just say, if you met him now, you would never in a million years think that he had done hard time or built a bomb.
Or was a drug dealer in high school even.
Or was apparently one of the most like well-known and ruthless drug dealers in the area, who loved animals, had all these pets, was just running off the list of all the animals in his house and showed us
13 of them. Yeah.
And
yeah,
I mean, unless it's all an act,
right,
that's a very different person. And they also show us a very short clip of Brett from back then when he was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the back of the cruiser and he's doing like a cocky smile, but it's out of context. We don't know if he's being like, fuck you, and taunting the press, or if he's like literally just smiling. We don't know.
Yeah, they also show him walking into court with like his little suit, and he did like, it reminded me of what's his nuts, Arthur Knight, the Scottish orphan. Remember when he was a kid politician?
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of. A little kid politician.
Kids matter.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. So yeah, we talked to him at his house, and it was just such a funny juxtaposition because they lead into this like this is the main person, y'all, and we're deep enough in the doc where this could be the main guy, right?
Oh
like,
yeah, and think about all the suspects and all the men that they do go through in this.
Yep.
And to think that this little kid would be the big bad when there's like 300-pound burly, like scary dudes in this.
Yeah, like guys whose nickname was the Enforcer.
Right.
Like maybe that's the guy that did it.
Right.
Right?
Not little Brett who loves animals.
We have a chinchilla, 2 hamsters, a Russian tortoise.
He's got a pig. He goes, we had 2 pigeons, but they died. They're on the mantle. We got them cremated.
He cremated the pigeons, y'all.
Yeah.
Brett didn't murder anyone.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know that he made that bomb.
Yeah, you're right, because he denies that as well.
He does.
He says to camera, I didn't do any of this shit, and I did 15 years for the bombing, which I also didn't do. And I'm kind of with you, Kate. I'm kind of buying it.
If the same cops that investigated the Burger Chef murders are the same ones that put him away, yeah, he didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. That's a great point. But yeah, I mean, this speed bomber or speedway bomber theory is out the window because, like the characters say in the doc, they're like, why would this guy, well, we were saying it, like, why would he do this for a dime bag at a drive-thru when he's selling weed across state lines? Like, this guy's too big time in the weed game, you know, to bother with this, which I think is a great point. So, but that was a quick one, and just so gold for that. Oh, Ginger, I wish I could have been there when Ginger first watched the first cut of this doc and was like, oh, I wouldn't be happy if I was her. I'd be like, oh, that makes you look kind of stupid.
I don't know that people like that ever even pick up on that.
They don't clock it.
No.
Okay. You know, maybe that's like a safety mechanism. Maybe that's good. It's not embarrassing. All right. So now, again, she says I can stay. Right on. High five. Next theory.
Theory number 4, the eyewitness account.
Now, this one's there's a lot going on with this theory.
Yeah.
And this was another reason why I really love this doc and I give it so many points, is that this is yet another example of this theory itself would be at least one episode by itself, if not a 2-parter or something else on another show.
It would.
And That's why I was saying when I watched this in August, what jumped out at me is we had just watched the first episode of the Yogurt Shop Murders. And as we've said before, it's boring beyond all get out. And I think it's because it leans too far into grief porn. And it's like it's just making the viewer, they want to make you feel as sad as possible for the victim and stuff. And then I go and I watch this one documentary that's like $1.30, right? Like this is like the doc is not that long.
Yeah.
And in this 1 hour and a half documentary, they cover 5 theories, and one of them is a bomb drop. Like, I'm just like slow clapping, like, well done, these Australians. Well done.
The Yogurt Shop
Right?
Murders, I fell asleep twice trying to get through the first episode.
Yeah. But these 2 murders I've always kind of conflated sometimes because they're both at like a restaurant. But anyway, that's...
And involving teens getting murdered.
Yeah. We're a few years after murder for this theory, for the eyewitness account. It's about 1980, 1981. And the detectives get a call that there's this guy in prison who got in a fight with someone, and he says that he has information about the murder. And we hear about this fight, and it was this guy named Alan Pruitt, and he's locked up, and he gets in an altercation with this guy named Jimmy Freet. Now, Jimmy Freet is the older brother of Jane, one of the victims, and the one who was accused of being in the drug business with her older brother. This is that older brother.
Right.
And so we talked to this Alan Pruitt guy who's a character, right? ZZ Top looking MFer. What'd you think of this guy?
He was a character. He's also kind of shady, so you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt, but I liked him.
Yeah, and his theory that we're going to go through right now, the detective, in both the things I've watched about this, he's in it, and he's very suspicious of Alan Pruitt. But he believes this theory, I think.
Yeah.
This is the detective's theory as well, but he just will not go on the record saying he trusts Alan Pruitt because he's like a lifelong con man.
Yes.
Or he's like a criminal. You know what I mean?
And what is he getting out of this?
Yeah, well,
He just doesn't... It seems... I mean, that's one reason why you'd have to believe it, because why else would he be doing this?
Boy, does that go a long way, right? If you are a snitch who doesn't want a thing in return, like that's a lot of brownie points. So he says, I confronted this Jimmy guy because I was saying, oh, well, it's because of your bullshit that your sister got murdered. And so then we hear this tale of Alan Pruitt, and his story begins with him and his buddy were bored and they wanted to get drunk and they went and bought beer. So that's what kind of causes the asterisk for this whole story, is it's from the POV of a guy who went outside because he felt sick.
Because he was
going to throw up.
So wasted.
Too drunk. Yeah, because he hadn't eaten all day.
If he wasn't leaning against the wall of the Dunkin' Donuts, he'd fall over.
But he and his buddy show up drunk to the Dunkin' Donuts because they were looking at the Burger Chef, which was directly across. Like it was next, not across the street. They were like next to each other.
Right next to each other.
The Burger Chef looked closed, but the lights were on inside, but the main light of the Burger Chef sign was off. So they figured it was closed. So we'll go over to Dunkin' Donuts. And he's smoking a cigarette looking across the way, and he sees this orange van with these god-awful white wall tires. Car Kate, hop in here. Are you as disgusted by white wall tires on a van as this guy was?
I don't know that I've seen them on a van, but Alan was really, really bothered by them. He was like, they are so stupid and ugly, and it ruins the van. And I'm like, bro, the van sucks. It's not ruining anything.
It's a van, dude.
But I like a white wall if it's on a classic. I wouldn't put it on an orange van with that creepy porthole window in the back, but
yeah,
I'd put it on a classic car. I mean, I guess the van technically would be considered classic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it's an important fact to remember because he's adamant about how hideous he thought it was, because we're going to see a picture later of a van that matches that color, and guess what I spotted in the background the doc didn't point out, Kate?
The white
that
wall
tire
tires.
Had a white wall.
Yeah.
It had a white wall on it.
The tires are kind of a thing for me in this.
Ooh, do tell.
Well, I don't think I can talk about it yet until the end.
I will never forget that f***ing van because of the white wheels. I'm thinking, man, that looks stupid. They were bright white.
So he says, he looks across the way and he sees this orange van and he sees a guy he recognizes, a bearded, scruffy guy. He sees him basically manhandling Mark, one of the victims. Like, he sees Mark outside by the van getting tossed around, and he hears a thump so loud that he assumed it knocked him out, and he sees that body get thrown into the van. Correct?
Yes.
He sees this person, and that guy's name is Jeff Reed. He says, God, I know that bearded guy. That's Jeff Reed. And then he sees a tall, skinny guy, clean shaven, come out leading the other people that worked there, leading them into the van as well. But he points out Jane, who he was interested in and was friends with, was swearing up a storm at this guy. right? And he was like, I've never seen Jane act like that. Huh, that's weird. And he sees them all pile in the van and pull out of there. Now, what are you thinking of this theory at this point? I mean, it's sounding pretty good.
It explains Mark's blunt force trauma.
Well, yes, or that happened in the woods. But I think it does lend credence to the fact that they dealt with Mark first in a way, and then that's why they had to do the other stuff.
Didn't Alan say who the other guy was?
Yeah, Tim Willoughby was his name.
Tim Willoughby.
And
the cops are like, Tim Willoughby was believed to have been missing or dead at that point. So we don't really trust Alan's point of view from that night. But then I'm like, yeah, but just because you thought he was missing doesn't mean he wasn't around for this. It was so weird to me. It was like, you never found a body and he hadn't been missing that long.
Yeah, he'd been missing since June of 78. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is a sticking point that I got alternate info in another doc that I had to look up for myself, and I found the true facts.
Okay.
So, the way this documentary presents it is they tell this tale where this is what Alan Pruitt saw. And then he says a few days later at the Dairy Queen in Avon, Indiana, he runs into Jeff Reed and Tim Willoughby, and they're in this orange van. And all of a sudden, he goes up to him and is like, yeah, what was going on at the Burger Chef the other day? Because, like, Alan Pruitt doesn't know what the is going on, I guess.
Yeah.
That there was a murder there. And he says all of a sudden they were real buddy-buddy, and they were like, hey, you want to go drive in the woods and get high with me? And I was thinking, okay, Alan, tell me you said no. And Alan says, and I said, yep, I hopped in.
Well, also,
like, Alan fell for this.
One of their girlfriends was in the van, too. So it was kind of like a party.
Well, right. But that one girl was Marianne Higginbotham. And according to Alan, she looked like she'd just been crying. So there was something up in this van that he was suspicious of from the beginning.
He felt the energy was kind of tense in there.
Yeah.
Like, he said the vibe was off.
Yeah, and she looked disheveled and that she had been crying. And as they're driving, she's screaming at Tim, because Tim and Marianne were dating. And she screams at Tim, if you don't cut this shit, I'm going to go to the cops. And this pisses them off. And they apparently pull in the woods. Because another thing, I'm not sure I said this detail, the woods they went to kill these people was 30 minutes away. Did I say that?
No.
I mean, this wasn't around the corner. It was a 30-minute drive. So they make this drive.
The cops said at one point that you had to know this section of woods because it was so random and kind of hard to find and, 30 minutes outside of town.
They're in the van and they pull over and Marianne is freaking out and she says to Alan, like while Jeff and Tim are getting out of the van, she goes, dude, they're going to kill me. Run. And so Alan finally bolts. He sprints away and he hears a gunshot. Now, this is all pretty convincing stuff. And this is when the doc goes, but it gets weirder because Tim and Marianne were both thought to be dead at that point. And they even go as far to say that earlier in the year, Marianne had been found in a 55-gallon barrel sealed in the woods. Do you remember this?
Yes. So she couldn't have been there in the van that day.
Well, okay. Now, they're saying that couldn't have been Marianne because we had already found her in a barrel. They're also saying that couldn't have been Tim because he was missing and we presume dead.
Tim and Marianne couldn't have been in the van. They were meant to be dead.
I'm here to tell you that those are both bullshit. One, because of what you're saying. Just because you see someone while they're missing, they were probably in hiding. Like, you could still see someone alive if they were missing. But here's something interesting, Kate, that I had to go to the Goog for proof. Marianne Higginbotham's body was found in a barrel in the woods the summer after the Burger Chef murders. It was 7 months later that they found this barrel of a skull popping up in a sealed thing in the woods.
So you think Alan's account was accurate and they killed her when he ran and put her in the barrel?
Yeah, and that's also probably why Tim Willoughby is also dead. And why, to this day, they never found Tim Willoughby, right? Like, they found Marianne. She was murdered via a gunshot in the head in the woods. We know that because they found her in a sealed barrel in those woods. But their whole thing in this doc was that she had already been found in that, but it hadn't happened yet. That's a crazy oversight to me. And I wonder, what do you think?
Yeah, you think that was an oversight on the part of the documentarians, or the cops got it confused in their retelling?
I was wondering who to blame. I might have to put it on the documentarians, because when I listened to the cops say the stuff, he might have been referring to when Alan Pruitt came forward with his story. Mary Higginbotham had been found in a barrel earlier that year.
Right.
His girlfriend, Marianne Higginbotham, had been found in Morgan County, Indiana, sealed in a barrel earlier that year.
That would make more sense. It's still not accurate, but it would make more sense. But I mean, it's a cold hard fact that the thing was found June 4th of 1979. And these murders were in 78. Yeah. So this is more proof that old Alan Pruitt here's telling the truth. It's in the same theory where we hear actually about another witness named Jean Bland. This was a completely unrelated, she didn't work there or anything. She happened to be driving by the restaurant that night, saw a van with kids being led into it that worked there when they drove by. Remember this?
And she was like, that's weird as hell.
Yeah, and so she tells the cops they don't do shit with it. And then they would have services or like memorials for this and say like, to put it back on the front page, right? And they would call and say, hey, you haven't talked to us. We saw it happen. And the cops have never talked to them.
And it was at this point in the doc where I'm thinking the usual, well, the guy who did it is probably the son of the sheriff because this seems like an insane thing to ignore. Like they're intentionally trying to make this case go away. But no, it's just incompetence.
Why has anybody talked to me? We have pertinent information that could have helped you locate these people.
But the police didn't care.
No, it's just they're lazy as all hell, and there were no more connections, so they didn't bother to follow this up. And the only reason why this is the kind of eyewitness where I would take with a grain of salt. However, it lines up with two of these theories we're going to find out. So I don't know, I give it a little bit of weight. Because she describes a bearded man and a clean-shaven man and all that stuff. Okay, this is when I was a little suspicious of Detective Kramer, because he's like, Alan Pruitt was definitely there that night. We know that for a fact. Whether he was across the street being sick at the Dunkin' Donuts, or he was one of the suspects, he was there that night. And he says, I hope before he dies, he has the courage to fess up, which I thought was a low blow. And I don't know if Alan Pruitt's lying.
No, but
and also he
did die.
He died in 2022, yeah. But I mean, they must have been working on this doc for a few years then.
They must have.
This didn't air in the States till 2024. It premiered October of 2023. So, I mean, this thing's probably been in works for a while. And I say that because I needed proof that they did not do generative AI for how awesome all of their shit was in the background. I was suspicious it looked so good.
Same. I thought some of that signage, I think the opening shot might have been AI with the Burger Chef sign. It just looked a little too pristine.
I hear you, and that's where, because I was like, well, that means they paid for a crane operator and they have a lit up sign that's really tall, and then they built the outside set. But that interview I read with Essie Randalls, they're talking about how they're sad that the place got demolished. And Essie's like, I am mourning the destruction of this building, even though we didn't shoot it in the real Speedway. We shot it in Adelaide, but we had an exact replica of the set built. So it could have been the real thing.
Isn't it sad that when something looks good, we have to question its authenticity instead of praise the people for doing a good job?
I mean, that's the takeaway from this is, I mean, the only reason why I'm comfortable saying it's not AI is because it was released before.
You're right. It's a couple years ago. It was released
before. Yeah, and now later half of 2023 is when AI blew up to the regular world. Now we can get a lot of nerds that say they've been working on AI for 50 years. Point is, the thing that's happening now with AI happened in 2023. I think we can agree with that. And if this movie or any future movies take place after that date, their production, I will question it, which sucks.
It does.
Because I was like, they called one of their burgers a Burger Chef, but with an S. And I was like, if that's an AI spelling mistake, I'm going to be pissed. But I looked it up. That's what they called those burgers.
Why?
So who knows?
That doesn't make any sense.
But anyway, point is, I'm with you. I don't know what the hell the S was for, but that was legit. It's during this theory, a prime example of what I loved about the dialogue that they gave to these characters. The highlight of this is when Mark talks about how he used to wear weights so that he would jump higher. Do you remember this bit?
Yes. He wore them all day long so that he could jump higher when he was in a game.
For basketball. Yeah.
I remember I'd take them off at the end of the day and I felt so light, it's like I could fly.
And then he says, I wish I felt that way right now. And now I'm thinking eye roll is what I'm threatening to do right now at that line. But then Ruthie goes, well, did you make the team? And he goes, yeah, I did, but I got cut because I refused to cut my hair. That to me, I would bet money was a real fact from Mark's life that they got when they interviewed friends and family members.
Absolutely. Especially knowing what we know about how black people were viewed in that town. And his hair wasn't even that long. It's not like he had long hair. It was still pretty short, especially for the 70s. It was still pretty short.
That's what I was thinking that too, of like, I didn't realize that applied to afros. I thought it applied to hair that hangs over collars is the problem. Who knows? But anyway, I just love that he went to this insane detail of wearing weights and that he's like, yeah, it worked, but then I got cut because I didn't want to cut my hair. Like, that was such a gold piece of information that I think made this sing for me. Because there's no better way to get that info across so succinctly, right? Like, hearing J-Mank say that, I don't know. I don't know if it would work. What do you think?
It would just be different.
Yeah.
But this,
you're right.
This really,
we shouldn't have to bring J-Mank down.
This really did help. Like, the characters felt fully realized and in a way that was respectful to them. So those comments are insane.
Yeah. Okay, so now we've heard 4 theories. These are all 4 theories that have gone around since the crime happened in 78. We're now to the final one.
I can stay.
Theory number 5, the 40-year-old secret.
I thought, so now we friggin' talked to a guy named Tim Boyer, and he's credited as a close friend of Jeff Reed, who we know as a suspect that was looking pretty good for this.
He had a van.
And
he was seen the night, and Alan puts him a couple days later doing shady stuff in the woods with 2 people who are presumed dead.
Yeah. And so now that we're seeing a friend of his, it's like, oh, now this will be a good source of info. This was someone who knew Jeff Reed and stuff. And then old Tim Boyer drops a bombshell. And what does he tell us, Kate? Like, what's this? He's the one who has the 40-year-old secret. And it is that Jeff Reed told him that he did these murders at one point. And he's been sitting on it. And he goes on to describe, one, we hear more about Jeff Reed, how he was the enforcer. And they would go party all day and drink beer and boobs and stuff. They're talking about beer and boobs at the racetrack, which I thought was funny.
So, I mean, it was tits and ass and beer and weed, you know. We had a lot of fun, and it was different women every night, different women every day.
We had such a great time, all these boobs.
Yeah.
And they kept showing this one picture of Jeff where he's shirtless.
Yeah.
And I feel like it looks like he's doing like a Tough Mudder or something, but those didn't exist yet. So
no,
I don't know what he's doing.
He was doing his own Tough Mudder.
He's competing
he's
in
partying,
something.
dude.
He's like ripping something off of him, bare chested, tons of chest hair. He's like covered in dirt. I don't know. It's weird.
I didn't hate his look, Kate. I'm here to say that I thought that pic kind of rolled. I mean, he's a murderer and stuff, I think. So I'm not praising Jeff Reed.
Allegedly.
But, okay. But there's no way, he was in jeans, I think. I don't think he was in any sort of event. I genuinely think that was a drunk afternoon at the track.
He was just partying at the track. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But the point was, like, he would beat people up.
What do you call those trashy, like, paddock people at the track?
Oh, pit lizards? Pit lizards?
Yeah, he's a pit lizard.
Now, pit lizards are generally the ladies looking for a husband and a driver.
Sure, but he's the one who's shirtless.
You're right, and like slithering on the ground and stuff. So yeah, this guy is much more of a pit lizard. That's a great point. And he says, yeah, he did have that kind of van. And they talked to someone that's like, and Jeff Reed's brother, they couldn't find records of Jeff Reed owning a van like that. But Jeff Reed's brother says, yes, he did have a Econoline Ford van. It did have white wall tires. It was painted yellow, but with a red primer. And now this is when the characters in the doc are like, the van is the same van throughout, which I believe. I think all the description of the van, it's been 3 different colors, but they're all describing the same van, right?
And there aren't going to be 2 or 3 vans in the same small town that same night with that same porthole window. There's only one in town. Come on.
Yeah. And while Tim Boyer's talking about his best friend, Jeff Reed, they show us a friggin' Polaroid in front of this friggin' van. And now it looks yellow and rusty like the one lady was saying, but that could just be a blowout from the picture. But it's got white walls and it's got that friggin' bubble window.
Yeah. And they were also saying that under those lights, it looks like red, orange, or yellow because it's under it's under the street lights, which are orange, and then from the signage of the Burger Chef, that's all orange. So everything is just glowing orange, and the Dunkin' Donuts sign is orange.
Now, but even the dark gets explained, I think, because who knows what color it is in the dark? Like someone who said blue could have just seen it in shadows.
Light, dark, red, orange, yellow. It's the same van. They all saw the same van. When it came in, it looked dark, and then orange because of the light.
So anyway, he says one time he's hanging out with Jeff, and Jeff like opens up to him and is getting it off his chest. This is right after the murders, I think, soon after the murders. And Jeff just straight up spills the beans. It's like, look, I don't know what to do. I was a part of this. It just went wrong. And we hear the details. And what does Tim Boyer say that Jeff Reed told him that night?
I don't remember.
I mean, he says, yeah, that was me at the Burger Chef. Jeff Reed says that. He says it was me and Tim Willoughby, and we drove by and saw Jane's Vega in the parking lot, and we knew that she had her brother with weed, or somebody owed somebody money, so we were just going to go in there and get it. And then when they did, Mark tried to intervene when they were going after Jane, and that's when he gets hit or pushed and is knocked out. And that's the moment where it turned from robbery. Now they've got someone unconscious, so now this is when Jeff Reed decides, I'm just going to kill all four of these people, okay?
He thought that he might have killed him. He said they took the guy and put him in the back of the van, and at this point, he's trying to gather his thoughts, looks up, and I guess there's all the people in the Burger Chef staring out the window.
And so that is what he says happens. And then they even say, Boyer was telling them, they think the one guy died by running into a tree, and that made Jeff laugh. And he says, no, that was a Louisville slugger. So that means he hit him in the face with a bat.
Insane.
Oh.
None of this was even necessary. Jane didn't have the money on her.
And I don't believe she owed $15,000. I know the idea is that she would take drugs to sell and say, oh, I lost it or it got stolen. But still, $15,000 is a ton of money for the drug circle in a 1970s Indiana high school.
Yes.
Okay. That's a lot of money.
For weed.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's crazy. They said maybe coke was involved, but it's primarily weed. That's an absurd amount of money to owe somebody. But this is now fitting all of the other stories. When you think of the bearded man, the clean-shaven man that, could have been this S.W. Wilkins or whatever, they're all describing Jeff Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what the, and so this is what he says, where he's like, and he got him all in the van, and he didn't know the plan was to leave him out there, but then somebody tried to escape or something, and then he ended up killing them all. And so now this gives even more credence to the idea that Marion Higginbotham was, like, now Alan Pruitt's story makes sense. The guy who was like,
yeah,
they told me that, or this is why Tim Willoughby and Marianne are dead. Like, it kind of justifies the other stories, right?
All of the interviews here all sound the same. They can all be connected.
Yeah.
All the eyewitness accounts, everybody except the jailhouse snitch. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
They're all the same guy.
The guy Pruitt saw is the same guy who confessed to his buddy Tim Boyer.
And, this was another bombshell the doc dropped, is they've got a podcaster going, supposedly there's footage of a bearded man walking into a Burger Chef from an orange van. And what the do you know? But this doc says, here's that footage.
We see it.
And it's exactly that. It's a bearded man who looks like the pictures of Jeff Reed. He's walking from an orange van, and he looks hesitant looking at the camera.
Yeah, he's all nervous.
What the hell? Where's that footage from? Why did it end? How'd they find it? What do you think?
Was it the news?
The podcast guy they were talking about had never seen this footage. So that was like fresh that the documentary people found. So I guess it was in old news footage. But this guy looks at the camera. I mean, it's crazy footage, I think. And so you take that with this new eyewitness account, or not eyewitness, but this new story by this Boyer guy. And I'm like, it sounds like this case
is
ready to get closed today. Yeah, it kind of feels solved to me. Now, the doc, here's the bummer here thing. Alan Pruitt died in 2022. Jeff Reed died in 2011. So even the guy who did it's been dead for 15 years.
Yeah.
So that's a bummer. But even Detective Kramer, who was not buying for a second Alan Pruitt's story, or he was, but he was hesitant. There was a time decades later where he learned that Jeff Reed was getting out of jail. And so he arranged for him to stay, so he could stay at like a halfway house. He picked him up from jail, and as the day got out, bought him breakfast and said, look, I'm retired. This never leaves this table. Here's what I think happened that night. And he says, is that what happened? And Jeff Reed says nothing.
Doesn't talk.
Not a word.
I know if somebody was accusing me of a quadruple murder, I would have had something to say. He never said a word.
And I would kind of agree with that. I think even if he did it, he would lie in that moment and say no. I think it's even more telling he didn't say a word.
Yeah.
I think.
He just wanted that.
Right?
He wanted that meal.
He got a free breakfast. And honestly, this is a guy who's out of the system after 20 years. He knows that the best move is to not say a single word. Right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what we learned after 100 Datelines. Like, it's like, just don't say a single
You need your lawyer there.
word.
Don't talk.
Yeah. So, it's such a, I mean, this is an insanely bummer ending. And there was a shot of a diary, and I was like, whose diary is this? Turns out it was Ruthie's diary, one of the victims. And they have an entry from December of the year before, and she goes, I just turned 17 today. It's hard to believe that in 1 year I'll be 18. And then she didn't make it to that B-Day, and her mom in the diary wrote, sadly, Ruthie didn't make it to 18.
I know.
Oh, my God.
That was that was brutal.
Yeah. It's like messing me up now thinking of it, of her reading that diary after her daughter's dead, finding a pen and filling it in and going, you didn't make it, baby.
And then adding it.
Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. So it ends on the filmmaker saying they've turned over his interview to the prosecutor's office. That's good. So, I mean, something might come out of this. I don't know. I feel like this doc ruled and presented so much this new secret theory and that footage guy. I felt like we should have been seeing this in the news or something. I don't know.
And when did this come out?
Well, I think it came out in the States 2024 early, but it said it was released in October of 2023. All right. Well, Kate, guess what? I think we're finally at this list. I think if I looked at my notes, there's other things I want to say, but I'm going to try and not say them because I've been really yapping. What do you got? Oh my God, this is like a Lesty. Sorry, go ahead. It's hour 42 right now.
Kate's unnamed list. Car Kate, beep beep.
Yep, beep beep.
We got the, you said it's a Nova, Chevy Nova, and we got
Vega, Chevy Vega.
You're right, Vega, Chevy Vega, and Ford Econoline orange with that
bubble,
weird bubble window and the white wall tires.
Excellent Carcade edition.
Yeah.
I've seen another show about a murder where the suspect had one of these vans, and they thought they found the van, but they said, no, the back window's a square. It's not a circle. It can't be him. They find out years later when they do bust him, he had it switched.
Of course.
Because he knew that people were suspicious.
Of course.
That's crazy you can do that, but anyway. I mean, look, you're not a fan of this van?
No.
I am. I'd take this van in a heartbeat. I'd cruise me and the missus all day.
I don't like a shaggin' wagon. I don't.
Oh, give me a shaggin' wagon. I live for a shaggin' wagon. I love it. Love it. Not for you, huh?
No.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
You got anything else?
No, that's it.
God, you almost had Detective Kramer crying and
Kurt,
saying sorry. I mean, my God.
I was yelling at the TV. Just say it. Just say it.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
He was about to.
He was about to, but he didn't do it.
No.
It's real frustrating, but it's not near as frustrating. Give me just a second.
He like paused, caught his breath, and then he didn't say sorry, but he kind of justified himself. But it was in such a cop way that he did not say sorry, I thought. But it was like, God, it was so close, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good stuff. All right, on to Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List.
I've got a few things. They kind of all fall under the same thing. Let me go to the top. Number 1. Todd McComas, former detective, now podcaster, This Day in Crime. Podcaster gets screen time that Kurt's never heard of. Ding, ding, ding. Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
And he was so wrong with his theory.
Yeah, robbery and tree involved. No, sorry, dude. Sorry.
I am 99.9.
Next up, this was great. Twilight Zone got a mention by our boy, the ravenous killer with 13 animals. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, all of a sudden, I'm accused of killing Julie Cyphers and Marianne Higginbotham. I was in the Twilight Zone. I was in the Twilight Zone. And I was like, guess where else you are, dude? Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
And somehow saying that I was involved, it was like Twilight Zone. I mean, really, this was the Twilight Zone.
Boom. And I'm not done. When we're talking about the Enforcer, another one of his nicknames, the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
A show that I just got on Blue, and I'm tearing through as we speak.
That's
so that
right.
was kind of funny.
You love Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah. Big Ferrigno head over here. Big time. So that was pretty cool. Number 3, Tim Boyer, the guy at the end. He's got the killer from the Saw movies, his head is like it's like a horror toy display of the killer's head from the Saw movies. Now that counts for my list because it's a movie mention, but I was almost going to make a joke. Do you know what the killer's name is, Kate, from the Saw movies?
Yeah.
Because it could almost go on your list. Hint, hint.
Yeah, it's like...
What's on your list that could be the 2-syllable, one-word name of someone that Kurt would be all over, but Kateline would not be all over, based on some recent episodes?
Yeah, puzzle.
Yep.
It's on the tip of my tongue. It's something like that.
Yep.
Jigsaw.
Nailed it. Jigsaw. I was laughing looking at that, writing that down. I said, I don't know. Does this count? Maybe.
I have never seen those movies.
You're not missing anything.
No.
Okay, guess what? One more. At the end, the sister of the victim is saying, you're supposed to catch the bad guys at the end. This is not how the movie's supposed to end. Oh, that's on my list. Big time.
Sad.
So, I mean, very sad, but very much a Kurt's kick-ass list item.
You're supposed to find the bad guys. That's the way the movie's supposed to end.
I thought this was a banging doc. And again, when I'm not kidding when I say this recording was the length of a Lesty's Awards. I'm sorry, Kate. I'm sorry there's a lot of good stuff in this. I thought it was a good doc. I thought they presented the theories really well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think? Are you still on board, or you're like, no, you've talked to me so much about it now. I don't like it.
I'm still on board. I think it's solid.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Well, right on. We'll see what we're doing next week. And on that note, I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Kateline. You do you.